All right. We'll go ahead and get started. Hopefully Tara and Sahar will join us as we get going. Hello, everyone. Notice is hereby given of the regular meeting of the Board of Education of the Town of Westfield in the County of Union, New Jersey at 7 p.m. on the evening of Tuesday, January 19th, 2021. The board meeting will be held via an online platform which can be accessed at the board tab under the district's website. The meeting can also be accessed by phone at 1-415-655-0001, access code 120-457-6567. The purpose of the meeting is to transact the regular business of the board and any other business to come properly before the board. This is to advise the general public and to instruct that it be recorded in the minutes that in compliance with Chapter 231 of the Public Laws of 1975, entitled the Open Public Meetings Act, the Westfield School Board on Thursday, January 14th, 2021, caused to be posted at the office of the Board of Education located at 302 Elm Street, Westfield, New Jersey, and delivered to the Westfield Leader, the Star Ledger, the Westfield Library, Town Clerk of Westfield, Tap Into Westfield, and Patch.com, a meeting notice setting forth the time, date, and location of this meeting. Members of the public will be allowed to make public comments twice during the virtual meeting. In the beginning of the meeting, the public may comment on agenda items only, and at the end of the meeting, the public can comment on any topic. At the appropriate time on the agenda, the Q&A window will be opened for public access. If you wish to address the board, please type in your name and address. Individuals who are calling into the meeting and wish to speak can touch *3 to access the raise your hand function, which will notify a staff member that you want to speak. When your name is called, the staff member will unmute your microphone. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. Please note that if any member of the public becomes disruptive during the remote meeting, the board president may mute the speaker's microphone. Continued disruptions may result in removal from the virtual meeting. Dana, may we have a roll call, please?
Sahar Aziz. Michael Beelan.
Here.
Brendan Galligan.
Here.
Rob Garrison.
Here.
Layla Morelli.
Here.
Gretchen Oleg.
Here.
Tara Porto.
Here.
Sonal Patel.
Here.
Amy Root.
Sorry, here. All right. Will you join me in a flag salute, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right. Let's open with some announcements, please. Mike, I believe you have the first one.
I do. The College Women's Club of Westfield is holding an essay contest for sophomore female high school students who are asked to reflect on your life and examine your successes and failures by writing a letter to your younger self, telling yourself 5 important things to know about success and failure. The contest deadline is Monday, February 15th, 2021. Please submit your essay to cwc.westfield@gmail.com. Additional details can be found on the Community Flyers page under Family Resources on the district website and by visiting www.cwclubwestfield.org. Thank you.
Great, thanks. Rob, do you have an announcement?
I do. Congratulations to the casts and crews of our high school and intermediate school fall productions, which were performed virtually and live streamed to enthusiastic audiences. A lot of hard work and ingenuity went into these first ever virtual shows. Special thanks to play directors Daniel Devlin, Westfield High School, Kimberly Johnny from Roosevelt, Michael from Edison, production manager Matthew Fabio, the dedicated theater parent community, and all those who supported and contributed to these productions.
Great. Let's see. Thank you. Layla, I believe you have the next one, please.
Okay. This is a reminder that registration for kindergarten and grade 1 for the 2021-2022 school year will be open through Friday, January 29th. Registering students early helps the district to determine staffing needs for the budget for the next school year. Instructions and forms for the new online registration process are posted on the district website, Westfield, New Jersey, K12.org, at the student registration quick link in the upper right of the page and in the drop-down menu on the Family Resources tab.
Great, thank you. Gretchen?
Yes. In honor of Black History Month, the JCC of Central Jersey is offering a film series to explore the relationship between the Jewish and Black communities. The 3 films are Joachim Prince, They Shall Not Be Silent, which is going to be streamed on Saturday, January 23rd through Monday, January 25th. They Ain't Ready for Me is going to be streamed on Saturday, January 30th through Monday, February 1st. And the 3rd film, Shared Legacies, the African American Jewish Civil Rights Alliance, is going to be streamed from Saturday, February 6th through Monday, February 8th. All movies are free of charge, and you can register at www.jccnj.org or contact Randy Zucker with questions at rzucker, Z-U-C-K-E-R, at jccnj.org or call 908-889-8800, extension 253.
All right. Great, thank you. Tara, do you have one?
I do. With in-person ceremonies sidelined due to COVID-19, 160 Westfield High School 12th graders who were inducted last spring as juniors into the National Honor Society received their NHS certificates, pins, charms, and gold tassels from NHS advisor Scott Rutherford in December. A list of the inductees can be found under recent news on the district website. Congratulations to all on this tremendous achievement.
All right, great. Brendan, I think you have an announcement, right?
Yes, I do. The Union County Board of Chosen Commissioners will hold an emergency food distribution event for COVID-19 this Saturday, January 23rd, from 8:30 to 10:30 a.m. in the school parking lot at the Union County Vocational Technical School, 1776 Raritan Road, Scotch Plains. The food distribution event is drive-through only. The first 1,000 vehicles will receive a box of produce, dairy, and shelf-stable food. For more information, please call or email the DHS Action Line, 1-888-845-3434 or 908-558-2288. And you can email at dhsaction@ucnj.org. Information is also available on the community flyers page of the board website under the Family Resources tab. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And I have an announcement as well. The next meeting of the Westfield Board of Education will be held on Tuesday, February 2nd, beginning at 7 p.m. The meeting will be held virtually. Instructions for the public regarding remote access are on the district website at westfieldnjk12.org under the board tab. The complete agenda of the meeting will be available on Friday, January 29th on the district website. All right, thank you. Now is the point in the meeting where we recognize the public for agenda items only. Members of the public, if you have questions about any of the agenda items, if you would take advantage of the Q&A section on the video link here to type in your name and your address, or use that *3 feature if you have called into the meeting to raise your hand. We'll wait for a moment or two. I'm afraid I'm not up to singing the Jeopardy theme music tonight, but we can think it. We'll see if anyone has any questions at this point.
Rotate that job responsibility around the board, Amy.
Well, thank you for volunteering to go next, Tara. That would be great.
Tara muted herself real fast.
All right. And for anyone who has tuned in from home, there will be another portion of the meeting later to ask questions about agenda items or to make make comments about agenda items or comments about any other items. I am not seeing anyone typing their name or address. Are you, Brian? No. All right. Okay. Then I think we'll wait on any potential questions. We'll defer those to later in the meeting since we're not seeing any at this point. And next on our agenda is the superintendent's report, where we turn things over to Dr. Dolan, who I believe may do a quick handoff as well. Is that correct?
That is correct. Since tonight our presentation is about the annual audit, I'm going to turn this over to Dana Sullivan, our business administrator.
Good evening. So as you know, every year we're required to have an independent auditing firm do an audit of our financial books. We end our fiscal year June 30th, the same as the school year. So our last fiscal audit was completed of June 30th, 2020 year. We contract with the firm Hodgelick and Morrison to do the audit. Bob Morrison is normally our lead auditor, and he's usually the person that attends these meetings, but Bob is out ill. So his partner, Andy Hodgelick, agreed to join us this evening and just do a brief presentation to you, an overview of what they do, and answer any questions that you have. As usual, the Finance Committee was given a copy of the audit, a draft copy of the audit last month. Actually, I think it was December. Yeah, that was last month. And they were able to review it. So now we're handing it to the full board so that you have the opportunity to ask questions. There were no comments or recommendations in the audit, so you're not required to approve a corrective action plan. You're just accepting the audit this evening. So with that, I'll introduce Andy Hodgelick from Hodgelick and Morrison. Brian Alker, do you see a Dana Montanelli on the attendees? Okay. So Andy, if you just want to unmute, yep.
Yeah. Hi, good evening, everyone. Pleasure to be here. As Dana mentioned, I'm pitching for my partner, Bob. We hope that he'll be back to us sometime in May or June. You're stuck with me this evening. I'll be brief. We were happy to report that, as Dana indicated, there were no recommendations to be set forth in the management report to the district. And in addition to that, obviously, the most important thing is in terms of your financial statements that we report on, we are reporting what's an unmodified or clean opinion, which indicates that it's your financial statements are a fair representation in all material respects of your financial position at June 30th, 2020. Actually, it's, one of those like A+ grades to the district. And if you have any questions, if you had a chance to review the report, have any questions, now is fine, or certainly, you can always reach out to us at any time, after the meeting and ask questions as well. So with that, I would just turn it back to Dana or the board members.
Andrew, real quick.
I just want to note, Bardon, can I just note on
Absolutely.
the schoolboard.net, you'll see there's two different reports. There's one very large report that's called the Comprehensive Annual Financial Report. And that's the very detailed report that gives you all of the funds detailed pretty much to every dollar that goes through those funds. And then there's a smaller report, which is called the Auditor's Management Report. That, in my opinion, is much more of a useful report for you to look at. So if you want to look at that, that would be, if there were any recommendations, it would be in that report. And that's also the report where you'll see the status of our fund balance, which is usually the most important thing that we want to look at. So if anybody looks at those at a different later on, or have any other questions at a later date, you can always reach out to me or to Andy. Sorry, Brendan.
Yeah, Andy, we have 3 new board members, and Bob usually goes through the whole process. So you just walk through the audit process for our members.
Of course, yeah. Well, so the most important thing, obviously, we're going to get copies of your general ledger's trial balances to see what your funds look like during a year. But the main focus of audit, obviously, most districts, certainly district your side, is on internal controls. So we go through and we identify what we consider to be the key controls over which are the functional areas of the district. We identify those controls, and then we test the controls to see if they're operating effectively. In this case, they were. If the controls, we find issues with controls, then we may have to expand our testing either on a control side or a substantive side of the audit. So that's really the focus. And then another large part, because you do receive grants from other agencies, the federal government has issued what's called a single audit. Now it's called uniform guidance, which requires us to go through and not only look at the financial aspects of certain programs, but also the compliance factors of certain programs. In addition to that, there are New Jersey statutes that require certain procedures, policies to be followed by the district, and we review those as well. So it's a comprehensive review of your financial information and your compliance information. And again, though, it really is a function, most importantly, of the controls you have designed within your operating systems.
Thank you.
So this is Gretchen. Andrew, first of all, thanks for coming, and please give Bob our best.
Sure, thank you.
Dana, I'm just curious, what did COVID audit look like for you? I know usually, the audit team sort of comes and they're in-house. So I'm just sort of curious quickly what it looked like for your team.
Well, much like our school year has been, it was different. It was a hybrid, actually. We did a lot more electronically than we usually do, but we did still have them physically in our building for not as many days as usual. For the newer board members, the audit takes months. It starts usually the end of August, early September, and it goes until November, mid-November, or the end of November. It's a long process because it's a big district. So it was very different, a lot more electronic, back and forth with documents. But there are just some documents that it just doesn't make sense for them to do electronically. So they were in for a number of days. And our holdup was the state, not anybody else. The state is what backed us up.
That was a great question from the board member. I will say that, it's kind of still a learning process for us all, but I really want to thank the district personnel for how responsive they were to us for the requests we made, whether it be electronically or certainly sometimes in person. But, the process went as well as we could have hoped for.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. I think, Dana, you mentioned that, I think this year and the last year, and I'm not sure how many years now, but it's been a relatively recent development that the state requires the audit to review figures that the state provides. And there's usually a delay. That's usually the last piece, I believe, right? In the audit and finalizing things is getting.
Correct.
Yeah.
We were ready December, the first board meeting in December, we were ready to present, but we were waiting on information from the state. So that was the holdup.
Right. And it's pension obligation related, is that right? Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
And yes, pension and health benefits, but all payments that are made by the state on behalf of our staff.
Correct.
Got it.
Was the change to the state's fiscal year? Did that change anything that we had to do internally with the reporting?
I didn't get the full question, Brendan. I'm sorry.
When the state changed their fiscal year this year, did that change any of the reporting mechanisms?
No, we were able to follow the same guidelines as in previous years.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from board members?
Hi, this is Sahar. I'm sorry that I was late. I had a parenting responsibility. I didn't intend to, homework stuff. So I apologize for being late. Thank you so much for this report. I just have, I'm happy to ask this question later if that's easier, but I'm trying to figure out where the number is for whether we have any reserves or not. And so I do know how to read a balance sheet, but it's been a while, I have to admit. So I'm just looking through and
there's
that's a great question. Unfortunately, the report that Dana referred to, the very large report, the CAFR, the accounting standards that the GASB has provided actually makes it rather confusing. There's actually 3 levels of financial statement reporting contained in that document. Yeah, I think you might be most concerned about or interested in what might be what's called the budgetary basis, which is how the, kind of like your budgets are put together. And that would be the document that's, or the schedule. It's called C1. And I think it ends on page 98, if I'm not mistaken, in your CAFR. And that will show you where all your reserves and balances are at June 30th, 2020.
Okay, so that number is not on this 6-page report, the synopsis?
Actually, in the back of the management report, there is a recap of your what's called the excess surplus calculation, and that number will actually appear in there also in that report.
Sahara, that's on schoolboard.net. It's the auditor's management report. It's I think it's the bottom on schoolboard.net when you're signed in with your password.
Okay, all right, okay. Yeah, I was just looking at the one that's publicly available that says Westfield Synopsis Draft, which I believe is publicly available.
Okay, that's right. And that's something, that's a requirement that actually goes way back when it had to be published in the paper. Now because most of your information is online, really you'd be looking at your AMR report or the CAFR report for your financial information.
So those are the last two private attachments on the agenda.
Okay. All right, thanks. Sorry about that.
Yeah, feel free to reach out anytime. Yeah.
All right, great. Andy, thank you so much for walking us through that and explaining things. And please give our best to Bob. We hope to see him back haunting our hallways soon.
I will definitely give him your regards. Thank you so much.
Have
a
Thank
good
you,
day.
Andy.
Bye-bye.
Thank you too.
Bye.
All right. Well, thank you. Yeah, that was helpful. Dr. Dolan, should we turn it back to Dana or back to you?
I think you can turn it back to me. I actually have another announcement to make.
Mm-hmm.
So this morning, I notified the Board of Education that I will be retiring effective July 1, 2021. It's been my honor to have served the Westfield Schools as a principal, an assistant superintendent, and the first female superintendent. Now, the fact of the matter is there is much work to be done between now and June 30th, and I will be working hard with the board, our district staff, and parents for the benefit of our students right up to the last day. But I did want to let the board know soon so that they can get to work, because they do have work to do, so that Westfield can welcome the new superintendent. And I'd like to thank the board members for everything.
Well, we certainly thank you. I know it's been a heck of a year this last year, and we are so thankful to have had you at the helm during such a crazy time. You are a very steadying influence for all of us, and I'm very glad that my kids were able to go through the whole system and finish with you as our superintendent. So we're still processing, I think, what it will mean to not have you here and what our next steps are, but we are immensely grateful, and we wish you a very very restful retirement when that comes, but not just yet.
Thank you.
Thank you. Did anybody else have anything they want to say now, or should we save it up for a later time?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit of both, but I just want to thank you, Dr. Olin, for your years keeping this district as stable as it has been, despite all the events that we've had to go through over the last 5 to 7 years. Some good, some bad, but the stable leadership has helped the district maintain and persevere. So thank you, and I wish you the very best retirement.
Thanks, Brendan.
You and Rich, enjoy
Thanks.
it.
Dr. Dolan, this is Sahar. I haven't had the pleasure of working with you for beyond a week, but I guess 2 weeks now. But it's very obvious what your influence has been on the district just as a parent. So I certainly appreciate all the work you've done. I can't imagine, well, I'm almost certain 100% that you probably didn't know you would be superintending over a global pandemic when you took the job. So,
that's very true.
Yeah. So that is definitely a new job, part of the job description that you had to be nimble and resilient towards. So we thank you for that. And I also, just for the record, really want to thank you for breaking the glass ceiling. I mean, the fact that you're the first woman superintendent is very important and historically significant. And I think that's something Westfield should be proud of, and hopefully you will not be the only female superintendent moving forward. So I appreciate that trailblazing role that you played.
Thank you very much.
I'm saving it up. That's my, but I mean, I have a mix of emotions. Glee for you in part, Dr. Dolan, but tremendous sadness for us. And I look forward to sending you off, with more words, but I have loved my time on the board, and a lot of that is due to the opportunity to work with you. And I've learned a tremendous amount. So I know we have work to do, and more to come.
I'll echo what Gretchen said. I'll certainly reserve my comments for the last meeting that we're together. But as I said to you last night when we spoke briefly, I'm stunned. I'm still kind of shocked and surprised that was the basis of a call on a Monday night. But certainly more to come, and I'll give you I'll heap the praise and other kind words at the appropriate time.
Yeah, this is Mike. Just go ahead.
That's right, Mike. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to echo the comments. When my children started here as little first graders, and now they're seniors, and this will be their final year as well, you can just see, I see their impact and the impact that all the students have had based on what you've done over the years and how you've moved this district forward, as I mentioned to you via email. That you should provide this calming presence that I think, with all the issues that go on, including this pandemic, we're just steadily moving forward, and I think that's attributed to your heading up this district.
I guess I'm next. So yes, your leadership during this has been really helpful, I think, for the majority of the entire district, and nobody could have predicted that you would have to go through this. And I do think that it was very comforting to have you leading the district during this time. And I do wish you a safe and healthy and vaccinated retirement so that you can enjoy it without worrying about all the stress of COVID.
Thank you, especially the vaccinated part. I'm looking forward to that. Well, thank you all.
Yeah. So hopefully we will be able to gather together in person before June 30th at a public board meeting, of course, but perhaps even a private celebration to raise a glass. Yeah. All right. I guess we will need to go ahead and move on with our meeting. I would like the board to approve the minutes of the board meeting held on January 5th, 2021, and the private minutes of January 5th, 2021. Second?
Second.
Whoop. I think I saw Brendan's hand first. Thank you, though. Just a voice vote, right, Dana? Yes. All in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed or abstaining? No. Okay, good. All right, then I would like the board to consider, in addition to the retirement that we just heard about, also personnel items 1 through 21. Could I have a second on that, please?
Right, so just to be clear, it's now 1 through 22, because we're adding.
22, okay.
We're adding now Dr. Dolan's retirement.
Yes, so 21 plus 1 is 22. Thank you, yes. Tara, okay, thank you. And I think there is an item or two here, Dr. Dolan?
Yes, tonight I'm announcing with regret the retirement of 3 staff members who have given a total of 90 years of service to the Westfield students. Barbara Piatowski has spent all 24 years of her career in the district at Franklin School. A beloved physical education teacher, Barb is a core member of the Franklin faculty. She's a role model with lessons that are well planned and structured to include social and emotional learning in the areas of respect, responsibility, kindness, and good sportsmanship. Karen Federico is a veteran special education teacher with 32 years of service. Karen first worked at Roosevelt, but has spent the bulk of her career at Edison School. where she has supported students in multiple subjects, particularly in science. As an IPrep teacher, she has skillfully provided for the individual needs of her students and has meaningfully embedded life skills into her lesson plans. And Randy Goodstein. Randy Goodstein is another special education teacher. She's been assisting our younger learners for 35 years at Wilson, Jefferson, and for the last 20 years at Franklin. Randy is resourceful, dynamic, and effective at finding the best way to connect each of her students to their individualized learning. And we certainly wish all of them happy and healthy retirements.
Great, thank you. Any other questions or comments? If not, we can go ahead and vote, please, Dana.
Sahar Aziz,
Yes.
Mike Phelan,
Yes.
Brendan Galligan,
Yes.
Rob Garrison,
Yes.
Layla Morelli,
Yes.
Gretchen Oleg,
Yes.
Tara Porto,
Yes.
Sonal Patel,
Yes.
Amy Root.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is a facilities report. Mike?
Yes, we did not have a meeting since our last meeting, but this evening we have George Duthie from FVHT Architect Planners. I had mentioned in my last report about how we were looking to, we've had an HVAC inspection and there's planned renovations we have for the various schools, which George is going to highlight in his presentation this evening. So George, you ready to go?
Yep, I'm ready. Thank you, Mike. Following on the heels of that sad announcement from Dr. Dolan, I remember also long time we've worked together back at Franklin School in the construction when we put that second floor in Franklin School. So anyway, that goes back quite a number of years actually. So anyway, I'll certainly miss you for sure. So Brian, could you give me screen share? Thank you. All right. Just bring up slideshow.
George, this is on Brian. Brian has your
Oh,
presentation.
Brian has it. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you.
That's what's working there.
I got it. Okay, so forget it then. That's not going to do it. So, thank you for the introduction. And I'm George Duthie. I'm a principal architect with FVHD Architects. We've been architects working, lucky enough to work with the school district for many years. And we've embarked on an effort to do a assessment along with our engineers, French and Perello, who have also done a number of projects here in the district, to make evaluations of your HVAC systems specifically, but not only ventilation systems throughout the district. So Brian, next slide, please. So tonight, it'll be a brief presentation, project overview, systems overview. We'll talk about the project costs and the project schedule, and there'll be some other information mixed in there as well as we go along. Next slide, Brian. So the overview of the project, what is being done, right? So the board is reprioritizing ventilation, air conditioning, and heating projects that they've always had in their 5-year facilities plan. So the district every year works very hard to complete a 5-year capital projects plan. Why? Well, obviously the district needs to budget for those projects, and there's also reporting requirements that have to be made to the state periodically in what's called the long-range facilities plan. The work is guided by ASHRAE, which is the American Society for Heating, Refrigeration, and Air Conditioning Engineers, Pandemic Guidelines for Schools, which was issued in July of 2020. They got that document out. It's actually quite a good document, but that is what we are basing the designs of these systems that we're going to tell you about, okay? Why now? Why now? Well, obviously pandemic concerns, right? We've learned some things from the pandemic for sure. Hotter weather trends, it's true. The weather is getting hotter in the summertime, staying hotter longer, more hot days, okay? And whether you believe, hopefully you do in global warming, but that is contributing to the hotter days that we're having. That's just a scientific fact. Updated ASHRAE guidance, okay? So we've received some updated guidance for schools, all right? So this has caused the Board of Education to advance the work, and it will be done in multiple phases. And how long will it take? Well, it will be multiple phases due to the costs, okay? The amount of work that's going to be able to be accomplished will be dependent upon the availability of funds that the district has, and that varies from year to year. as you know, with the capital reserve and capital projects funds and transfers and so forth. Next slide, please, Brian. So what else has been done to prepare? So the buildings have all been surveyed. All school buildings have been surveyed to determine the type and quality of the ventilation and heating and air conditioning systems as well in each space, okay? So you know what the district has done already is they've put advanced treatment technologies into the rooms. They've added devices, air treatment devices into the air streams of mechanical equipment. They've done standalone air treatment devices. They perform replacement, maintenance, and repairs on equipment where needed, okay? And we've updated the 5-year capital plan to reflect these HVAC projects we're going to tell you about. So what will be in the first phase of the work? Well, we're going to do the elementary school multi-purpose rooms first. And as I said earlier, this was a project that was always on the district's long-range facilities plan, but is being advanced and being done sooner. It's going to give us enhanced ventilation, air conditioning, and upgraded heating systems in each of those rooms. Now, we won't be doing Lincoln School because, as you know, we did about 12, 13 years ago, an improvement project at Lincoln School and a complete rehabilitation. So that system there is fully code compliant. Now, while it is a code compliant system, the district also did go back and put those same air treatment devices into the air streams of the equipment at Lincoln School as well. Also, we're going to do the nurses' suites, okay, at all of the schools except for the high school because that unit was recently replaced. So those are the two main projects that we're going to do in this first phase. Next slide, please, Brian. So will we be doing any classrooms? All of the classrooms right now have heating, ventilation, and air conditioning systems that are in good working order, okay? The district has already upgraded the ventilation in these rooms by providing, as I said, the air treatment technology, which is called bipolar ionization. And they've also, in some cases, made other repairs and improvements, as I said earlier. What will we be doing? Right now, the project is contemplated to be done in a total of 3 phases, but that could change depending upon, again, the availability of funds. In phase 2, we plan to upgrade the ventilation systems in smaller rooms that are used by students, okay? Small group rooms, conference rooms, and places like that. In phase 3, we're going to upgrade the main offices, the guidance suites, the child study team areas, as well as faculty rooms and places like that, sort of like the last priority of the work. And as I said earlier, it's going to be dependent upon costs and the availability of funds. Brian, next slide, please. So what types of systems are we using? So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but just so you can see the self-contained nature of the equipment that we're going to use in the multi-purpose rooms, I do want to say these units will have to be put outside because of their size and lack of available space on the roof. There's a lot of solar on the Westfield schools, which is a great thing, and really not the ability anywhere inside in the building to put any type of equipment. So these are going to be put outside. We're going to hide them as best as we can. They're going to be inside a screened enclosure. But this technology is what we call energy recovery ventilation. It's a very energy efficient way of ventilating a space, okay, because we can maintain near constant temperatures year round. And then we can use that to reduce the heating and cooling loads on the spaces. We're also going to include MERV 13 filtration, again, in compliance with that ASHRAE standard that we told you about earlier, as well as bipolar ionization in these units also. Next slide, please, Brian. Right, oh, there you go, thank you. This will be our air conditioning device. It's called a variable refrigerant flow heat pump system. It does heating and cooling. It will also do ventilation in some of the smaller rooms because we're able to actually put some ventilation air through these. They can make heat. They can make, more importantly, cooling. But they can prevent overcooling of spaces by shifting the waste heat from the unit and using it to heat spaces that might need heat in certain times during the spring and in the fall. We will be exhausting in the nurses' suites all of the air to the outside. There will be no recirculated air in the nurses' suites. And we will also be putting HEPA filtration in the nurses' suites, okay, and isolation rooms where applicable. Next slide, please. This is just an example of filtration. And again, it's ASHRAE guidelines. MERV 13 is the recommended filtration level. It provides a balance because of the type of mechanical equipment, provides a balance between the capabilities and sizes of mechanical equipment and the filtration ability, okay? If you go, the higher you go in MERV ratings, the larger your fans have to get, the less efficient your equipment can become, okay? And we're going to use, as I said, HEPA filters in the nurses' suites. Okay, next, Brian. And this is what I was telling you about bipolar ionization. All this basically does, it works on the principles of opposites attract. It creates, in effect, a field, a magnetic field. I'm going to just call it that for our purposes tonight, that draws particles to it and clumps them together so that they can be more easily fall out of the airstream. Okay, so that's how this device works. We've already got many of these right now working in Westfield. Next. So how much is it going to cost? So we've estimated the cost of the projects. HVAC projects, unfortunately, as Dana knows, are very expensive. And in phase one, which we're contemplating to do this summer, we have $4.25 million. Phase two, which we hope to do next summer, just over $2 million. And in phase three, just over $3.5 million. So almost $9.85 million in projects for HVAC. These are all in numbers and include all of the engineering costs, acquisition costs. There's also electrical work that has to be done, obviously, and concrete work and things like that. So those are all in numbers. We've also put a little bit of escalation in there for year-to-year rising costs. Okay. But it's very difficult sometimes to foresee these costs. There's a lot of things that can affect the price of all construction work, not just HVAC. But it's based on what we know today, and we think we have good numbers right now for the work we have to do. Brian? So our phase one project schedule is underway right now. Phase one is going to be advertised for bids. We are expecting around mid-February. We're going to award bids in March. We're going to order equipment. It takes a while to get mechanical equipment. Some of it has fairly long lead times. And then we're hoping to install, if we get the equipment in time, and we hope to, in July and August of this year. Okay. Again, there have been spot issues with labor due to the pandemic and illnesses related to COVID. And we've also had similar reasons for delays in delivery of equipment from the factories. Okay. But we're hoping we can achieve this schedule. All right, next slide. So thank you. That's presentation in a nutshell. And if anyone has any questions, please.
George,
That was a lot. Yeah.
Well, first, thanks for the presentation. Makes it very clear what phase one is going to look like. In facilities, we had talked about possibly starting some of the site work ahead of time. Possibly doing electrical or any kind of preparation work in anticipation of delivery. Is that still on the table, or is that ruled out?
Oh yeah, absolutely, Brendan. What we'll do is as soon as we award, we'll get started as soon as we can with getting the preparatory work done. There'll be electrical runs that have to be made, electrical panels that have to probably be installed. There'll be outside work to do, pouring concrete pads to set the units on. Of course, yeah, we may have some ceiling work in the rooms. We have to start removing ceilings and putting up some supports. So yes, we will do that.
Excellent. So then even if there's delays in the equipment, we might be able to get this stuff done this summer.
As much as we could, right? The equipment will arrive, we can slip it into place. I would hope, more or less that would be what we'd be able to do. Sure.
Excellent. Yeah. Thank you.
George, those units you showed that'll be in the nurses' suites, will those be individually controlled or centrally controlled?
So they have individual controls on them, and you'll be able to set those up on an individual basis. You also can tie them into your master control system through the district, and you can control them that way as well. So actually both, you can do both with those.
So it'll use the smart technology to go and allow us to manage them.
Oh yeah, you'll be able to hook those into your existing Siemens system and control those through your BMS, your building management system. Yes.
Thank you.
Sure.
Dana, I know typically, particularly when we're talking about projects within our 5-year plan, we use capital reserves. I don't know if you want to just speak to the money piece for our new board members.
Sure. So yes, we have been, any funds in our budget that we do not expend in a year goes into fund balance, and then it gets transferred. Most of it gets transferred to reserve accounts. Because we have been able to save a significant amount of money on our health insurance, we are self-insured for our health insurance, which means we don't pay a premium for every employee that we have. We've been lucky every year that we have seen savings from that self-insurance. And the savings has largely been put into reserve accounts. So all of this will be funded out of reserve accounts, certainly for phase 1. And we are hoping for phase 2 and 3. But of course, that depends. Every year, it's dependent on how well we do, mostly in health insurance. You know, there's other areas of the budget where we may also be able to save money, but then there's usually areas where we have unexpected expenses. So largely the money that we have been able to put in reserve does come from health insurance every year. So we are hopeful, certainly phase 1 will be from capital reserves. And we're hopeful all 3 phases will be able to be financed out of that. In a couple of months, a month or 2, we'll be meeting with facilities and updating them on our 5-year plan, and we'll do a presentation to the full board on what that 5-year plan looks like now for our capital projects that are coming up in the future. Obviously, there have been some projects that we had to reprioritize and move them out that we had wanted to do in the next year or 2, but with COVID, the HVAC upgrades became a higher priority. So we had to shift around some projects. So we will be presenting that probably in March.
I just want to make a quick comment. George, thank you for the presentation, and for the newer board members, it's always good when you're head of your buildings. Sean MacArthur is nodding a lot during a presentation like that. So I'm sure Sean in the future will give us updates on the progress, as well as Dana, as we talk about these type of projects.
I should have actually introduced Sean because the new board members probably don't know him, but Sean is the supervisor of buildings and grounds. So he's the person that's day to day managing all of our buildings, all of our very old buildings. So thank you, Sean.
So I have a quick question thank you for that presentation. Could you explain, so you stated in your presentation that the classrooms were already with air conditioner. And so I just wanted to clarify what that meant. And one of the reasons I'm asking is because my kids went to Edison, and I think a couple of years ago, they just put in air conditioner units in the classrooms, because I know that it was not air conditioned. It was, you know.
Some of them have central air conditioning. It depends on where they are located, the classrooms, but the rest of them have window units. Most of them have window units.
Okay. So in other words, the entire district at this point, other than the rec rooms that now were the all-purpose rooms, has air conditioning?
Pretty much. There might be some rooms here and there, but pretty much, except for the multi-purpose rooms that we're talking about here. And the gyms at the high school, but all of the classrooms do have air conditioning.
Okay. And these units that we're putting in, these HVACs, are they units, or are they going to be part of a centralized system? In other words, will the result be a centralized heating or air conditioning, or will it just be we're putting in separate units in each room?
They're primarily standalone units. They're not really part of a system. It's a self-contained system.
Okay, so if one breaks, it's just that gets replaced.
Yes, that's correct. Yes. Mm-hmm.
And just to follow up, sorry, and we're doing that because it's cheaper or faster, or as opposed to creating more of a central system?
Well, they're primarily standalone rooms. So you're going to have one piece of equipment for that room, and you wouldn't centralize that. We would centralize if, for example, we were going to do a similar project in a group of rooms, like classrooms or something like that. We would certainly put those together onto an air handler or a rooftop type unit and gang them together. But places like the nurses' suites, where the rooms are broken up into little compartments and different people work different times of the day, having those individual air conditioners in there, they can be adjusted up and down to suit the needs of the space, and also allow us to do the ventilation scheme, getting the 100% outdoor air circulation going through. So we wouldn't want to mix the nurses' suite anyway. We want to keep that air system separate from all the other spaces.
Right. I mean, the reason I'm asking, just for long-term purposes, and you don't have to answer this, but I just wonder, will there be a point where our schools will have centralized heat and air? Because that's the upgraded technology, as opposed to having little units. And I realize that state right now is for various historical reasons. So I'm just wondering, is this an opportunity to make that transition, or it is not an opportunity because what we're talking about is a very limited amount of space. But just saying that to say that I would like to see at some point in the future that our facilities have centralized air and heating, right? At some point. And so is this an opportunity to work towards that goal?
Sahar, centralizing or putting central air in our old buildings would be incredibly cost prohibitive. It would wipe out everything on probably the next 30 years worth of facility projects.
Yeah. So what's typically done, but we do, when we do multiple classrooms, we do put the systems together on one outside air ventilation system. We use energy recovery, and we still use the heat pumps in the classrooms because it allows for better temperature control, more customized for the occupants of the space. It also gives us the opportunity to exchange the heat from one air conditioning unit to a room across the hall that might be cold. So we can use the waste heat from one room being air conditioned to heat another room across the hall. So that's kind of the state-of-the-art technology now. Relatively more refined system now than it was in the past. So that tends to be more of the state of the art, but that does centralize the ventilation air. Yes.
I just want to be able to answer that question when I hear it, because I hear that a lot. And so I just wanted to be able to explain, to constituencies the explanation. So, okay, thank you.
Sure.
So under facilities, you have a resolution that has the project applications. So these are the project applications that we have to submit to the state of New Jersey. And also the approval to revise our long-range facilities plan for the state. So that is something we will need you to approve so we can get going with the state approvals, and George can start working on the bid documents and everything so we can get this out to bid quickly.
Okay.
Mike, I think that means you're up.
Who's up? Mike?
I'm up. I just had to go and unmute myself. So asking the board to approve the resolution authorizing contracts with vendors through cooperative purchase agreements. Is this the right
Yeah,
one?
Mike, no, we're on facilities, on facilities, Mike.
Clicked the wrong link. Hold on, excuse me. I knew it was wrong as I was reading it. Okay.
It's just one item, so you don't have to read all
Okay.
the details.
Yeah, just asking the board to approve the resolution for the capital project for the HVAC system. Do I have a second?
Second.
Dana, roll call. Any
questions?
Yeah, any questions?
Sahar Aziz,
Yes.
Mike Beelan,
Yes.
Brendan Galligan,
Yes.
Rob Garrison. Yes.
Yes.
Layla Morelli,
Yes.
Gretchen Oleg,
Yes.
Tara Porto,
Yes.
Sonal Patel,
Yes.
Amy Root.
Yes.
Thanks.
And Dana, we'll work to schedule our next facilities meeting.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Okay.
That's all. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks,
Thanks.
Mike. All right. Next up on the agenda, Gretchen's favorite part, long-range planning.
I suppose long-range planning takes on a whole different meaning now after tonight, doesn't it? I don't have a report. The committee has not met. More to come.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you. And you're right. Policies, Brendan.
Yeah. I asked the board to approve policy item number 1. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Tara. This is to affirm the superintendent's decision in HIB incident 21L01 for the reasons set forth therein. Dana?
Sahar Aziz,
Yes.
Mike Beelan,
Yes.
Brendan Galligan,
Yes.
Rob Garrison,
Yes. My mute button's a little delayed.
Layla Morelli,
Yes.
Gretchen Oleg,
Yes.
Tara Porto,
Yes.
Sonal Patel,
Yes.
Amy Root.
Yes.
And the policies
All right.
committee has not yet met, but we will be setting meeting dates once we have a better understanding of what our search committee is going to be looking like.
Hmm. Mhm. All right. Thank you. All right. Curriculum. I would like the board to consider just curriculum item 1, only one item on the agenda.
Second.
Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Thanks, Brendan. Oh, thank you, Brendan and Mike. Yeah, it's the SIP committee hasn't met yet since our previous meeting, so we have no curricula to review. It's just 2 names for intern student teacher candidates. So if we could just vote on that.
Can I ask a quick question just for my board member? So when we vote on this, okay, so it's essentially a temporary hire is what it is. Is that correct?
Yeah, they're not paid, but we are approving them participating and overseeing, the work of the district.
Okay. Well, I just want to note for the record my position that I think this is a very good idea, especially during COVID.
Great.
And to give these students or new graduates the opportunity to get training and at the same time give our teachers assistance. So I just want to put that for the record, and hopefully we can do more of this, especially this semester.
I would absolutely agree. I think it helps everyone.
Yes. All right. Any other comments or questions? Okay. Dana?
Sahar Aziz,
Yes.
Mike Belam,
Yes.
Brendan Galligan,
Yes.
Rob Garrison,
Yes.
Layla Morelli,
Yes.
Gretchen Olig,
Yes.
Tara Porto,
Yes.
Sonal Patel,
Yes.
Amy Root.
Yes. All right. Thank you. Actually, curriculum does have a meeting. The SIP committee has a meeting on Thursday, February 4th at 9 a.m. So those of you that will be on the committee will be getting an agenda that week. Won't be before our next meeting, but at least you'll know to get ready for another Zoom WebEx meeting that week. So thanks. Next up is finance. Rob?
Thank you. We have items 1 through 15 to adopt tonight. Can I get a second?
Second.
As board members will notice, a good number of the items tonight reflect back onto the HVAC discussion that George Duthie just presented. So you'll see a number of items on there paying for the services of our architectural firm for each of the projects. And per one of the questions asked earlier, you'll see in this instance on number 8, you'll see where there are monies transferred from our capital reserve account that are then going towards the architectural services. So this is an instance where you see some funds go from the reserve account into the budget in order to pay for this type of service. Can we have a roll call, please?
Sahar Aziz,
Yes. Yes.
Mike Belan,
Yes.
Brendan Galligan,
Yes.
Rob Garrison,
Yes.
Layla Morelli,
Yes.
Gretchen Olig,
Yes.
Tara Porto,
Yes.
Sonal Patel,
Yes.
Amy Root.
Yes.
And what you'll see too, since we have not met as a committee since our last board meeting, normally most committees do have a report that gets emailed to all the board members, preferably the Friday before, but it could be as little as the hour before a board meeting. So that was not done at this time. We are looking at perhaps the 29th or the 5th for our next finance committee meeting, just waiting to coordinate schedules with the board members. Thank you, Dana.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. All right. And next up, without having had the benefit of a meeting, I don't believe, technology. Gretchen, we are back to you, right? No report?
Boy, you really got me there. Yes.
I did. I'm sorry.
I was not prepared. We don't have a report. I will loop back with Brian. Brian, you're stuck with me now. And we'll figure out when to get technology and communications meeting on the agenda.
All right. Great. Yeah. we were speaking a little bit before the meeting started about that'll be on the docket probably for a policies meeting, right, Brendan, to make formal changes to the committee names?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's one of the first policies we'll be addressing.
Got it. Got it. Another forward-looking activity. Yes. Okay. All right, great. Then I would just like the board to consider notes for the record, which have been attached. Do we have any unfinished business to address that anyone can think of? Or new business? No.
Amy, it's not technically new business, but it is the most appropriate position here. I did want to just thank the town, Deacon Keith Gibbons and Councilwoman Dawn Mackey tonight for organizing the COVID-19 remembrance ceremony earlier today. As most of you know, we've unfortunately had 49 of our fellow residents here in Westfield pass away due to COVID-19, and it was a really nice ceremony where we had representatives from the various religious institutions speak, as well as Chief Bataloro and others. It was a really nice service, so I wanted to make sure to at least recognize the remembrance ceremony today.
Just to add one thing to Rob's comment, I was there this evening as well as a very nice ceremony. If you'd like to see the ceremony, you can view it at facebook.com/Town of Westfield.
That's great. Thank you. I was able to join the Martin Luther King Association that met yesterday and did a very brief march, sort of did a quick loop through town. Typically that march is a little longer and ends up at one of the local houses of worship. It circulates from place to place each year, which is really nice. And the district normally has a pretty decent presence at that because there are contests that our students participate in, writing poems and essays. And Dr. Dolan has been there every year that we've been able to meet in person to congratulate the students and kind of gather them together, which has always been a really nice, a nice component of the day. And unfortunately, we weren't able to gather in person. The MLK Association put together a video presentation, which they, I think is also maybe available through the, not sure if it's available on the town website.
It's facebook.com/Town of Westfield. Both of the videos are up there.
Great, that's good. Yeah, and it offered an opportunity to actually include a recorded portion of Martin Luther King Jr. himself speaking, but also included some information about some of the locations in town that are perhaps unknown to some of us as African American history spots that are here among us in town, and so provide interesting links. So if you have a chance to look it up, that would be great. And again, as we say so many times, hopefully we'll be able to reconvene in person again next year for that. Not sure if there's any other new business items. We could do liaison reports. Does anyone have any report they'd like to give? Rob, you want to go first?
Yes, thank you. I did attend the virtual remote meeting of the Town of Westfield Rec Commission meeting. I think it was last week. Sometimes these meetings just all sort of blend together. A lot on the agenda, as we've discussed here, that also involves the district talking about the future of the parks, as well as a bit of public information. The town is also open to the new pool memberships and renewals of pool memberships. So for those of you that want to join Memorial Pool, please go on the Town of Westfield website for information.
And I'll jump in there. Last Wednesday, 5 of us were on the Union County School Board Association meeting, meeting with board members from all over Union County and a couple others from around the state, discussing what other districts are doing for COVID and how we're doing, best practices, things that haven't worked. Overall, I love these meetings because it tells us how well Westfield's doing compared to some other districts that are having trouble. And we always learn something from whether it's Cranford and Scotch Plains, Garwood are always present at these meetings, and it's just nice to to see that we're all doing roughly the same thing. And then for the State School Board Association, I'm sitting on their nominating committee to select new officers, and we've started that process for the 2023 term, 2-year terms for officers. They'll be reviewing resumes coming up in February, and they'll be elected by, I guess, everybody here in May. All school board members will have a chance to vote on that.
Brendan, I have a question, and maybe Dr. Dolan can weigh in, but was there any discussion about the expected timeline for K through 12 teachers to get access to the vaccine?
At this point, it's not going to be done through the schools. It's the state of New Jersey Department of Health is in charge of distributing vaccines. And teachers, I believe, are in group 1B. So as that becomes available, sign-up slots will become available. As far as I know, there is no plan to distribute in the schools directly, although that may change. But it's up to the state. We have no control over distribution.
Does anybody have any scuttlebug? I'm just trying to figure out if there's, even from the state, if we have any idea. I've been keeping an eye on that, but I haven't seen any.
At the rate the state's been distributing vaccines, it's going to take till 2024 for everybody to get one. So
I think also what happened was the word from the federal government changed last week, and the federal government said you need to open it up. They basically told the states, don't go by your own list. You need to open it up to the people who are in our hospitals. And the people who are in the hospitals are either over 65 or they're from, I think it's 18 to 64, but they have very specific underlying conditions. And those are the people who are in the hospitals. And my understanding from meetings and reading is that the federal government said we can't have our hospitals overrun. So those people need to get the vaccines first. That was not very popular with educators in places like New Jersey who thought that they were 1B, and now they don't know where they are because so many millions of people are now eligible for it. I'm sure it'll get better, but right now it's kind of like a gridlock. Right? I know a number of people who have signed up and thought they had appointments and then they didn't because the vaccines didn't come. I know a few districts who had managed to work with local healthcare providers and they thought that they were going to have the vaccines administered in the buildings. They had everything ready. And then like a day or two before it was canceled. We've tried to work with our healthcare consultants to see if they could help us. At this point, they can't. We have a very good relationship with our regional health department. At this point, that's not going to work either. But again, right now it's a logjam, right? But I think it is going to get better. I think more vaccines will be approved, and I think people are learning a bit more. So if we can do anything to make it a little more efficient for our staff members, we would love to do that. I will remind everyone one more thing though. So let's just say at some point, our educators will have vaccines. That doesn't mean the children have vaccines. And I have spoken with healthcare professionals, and they can't quite tell me, what does that mean then? Will the rules change? Will it not be 6 feet? They're not sure yet. They're still working on that. So we'll keep asking the questions, and it's going to get better. Just don't know when. And we'll keep plugging away at it then.
Thank you.
Brendan, while you had the floor, this is, I guess, not really a liaison report, but I was wondering if you had an update about Dr. Nelson's medal that we applied for, or you applied for, I should say.
I don't have one yet. We've had several changes to the Secretary of Defense's. I've spoken with Rob because he's got some connections, and we're going to be trying to expedite that process once the new administration takes over.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and and on that note, I know as the unofficial parliamentarian, I've screwed up a couple times tonight, but I also did want to recognize tomorrow as the swearing in of our 46th president, Joe Biden. I do send him my best wishes and look forward to 4 years of his presidency.
I echo those comments.
Amy, you're muted.
Hi. Yeah, no, I know. I was pecking away. Sorry, it wasn't working for whatever reason, but I'm glad I figured it out. Are there any other liaison reports that anybody wanted to give at this point? I actually have,
I was going to say, while we're talking about liaisons, we do have our town council liaison, Mike Guardia, on the line. Mike, if you're there and you want to say hi, putting you on the spot here, but I guess. Oh,
I don't know. Can you hear me?
Oh.
Hi, this is Mike. And,
Hey, Mike.
Hi, everyone. Really happy to be a part of this and serving as the town council liaison to the Board of Ed this year. Congrats to the new members. I also have a question.
Thank you.
But I have a question, but maybe it should be for the public session. I can just enter it into the chat box.
Yep, and then we'll turn your microphone back on. Is that parliamentarians? Does that sound appropriate?
We can go either way.
We're almost there.
We can go either way at this point for the comments, either now or during the public comment period.
I think we're up to
Okay.
the comment period now, so.
We were. I was going to give a speed liaison reports for a couple of meetings that I went to, just to say them. Is Mike still standing by, Brian?
Yep.
Okay.
Do you want me to
Go ahead,
ask
Mike.
the question?
Keep you waiting. Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, the question is pretty straightforward. So I don't know if you are aware, but you may have heard about the recent spate of holiday decoration vandalism that was in town. And so police believe that the perpetrators were actually of school age, specifically middle school. And so what we're looking for is information from the RIS and the EIS student bodies to whatever degree possible. Could the Board of Ed let the schools know that the Westfield Police Department is requesting any information about the vandalism? So any information would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
All right. I am sure we can get the word out.
Thank you.
And hopefully get some answers. Thank you, Mike.
Appreciate it.
All right.
And I won't throw you under the bus again.
Yeah, we'll let you raise your hand next time instead of tapping your shoulder. Just real quickly, I wanted to say at the beginning of January, right after our last meeting, I attended a virtual meeting of the Union County Education Services Commission, known as the Commission, which again is a county-wide group, but it operates special education schools, which are largely in Westfield. And I had done that a couple of years ago, so it was kind of like going home for me. So a little bit of, start of the year, getting a quorum, doing some reorganizations as we did for ourselves and as every district does for itself. But that group meets every month. So I'll be going to a few of those and then maybe passing the baton to one of our newer members as we go forward. I also last week attended an executive PTO board meeting with Franklin officers, and then the next day met with the high school PTSO as well. Lots to discuss on both fronts, how COVID is affecting fundraising, is affecting group activities, and certainly from the high school perspective, the parents that are involved in the PTSO are very keen to do whatever they can to make sure that their seniors and the students are properly acknowledged, since we don't really know what the spring is going to look like. So that is a very passionate group of people, and so that'll be something that I'll attend going forward as well. So if there are no other liaison reports, now is the second portion of the meeting where we recognize the public for questions and or comments. It does not need to be about an agenda item. Can be, as Mike said just before, something not on our agenda, but something you think we should know or be aware of. Again, please take advantage of the Q&A section of the screen to type your name and your address, which is just a form we use because it's a public meeting. And then we can call you and turn your microphone on, as Brian did for Mike. Not seeing anybody. Brian, are you?
Nope.
Okay. All right. Okay. Maybe everyone's still processing the news as we are. All right.
Maybe Marianne can come up with like maybe she can compose an original like little ditty to be played during that period. She doesn't have anything else to do, right? Excellent.
You know what, Amy, while I wait, I was remiss in not also congratulating Vice President-elect Kamala Harris as well, first female vice president as well as a woman of color. So I would be probably knocked around by my wife in a loving way by not making that recognition.
But I also think that is a notable achievement, and whatever we say in our resolutions. Notable accomplishment, I don't know, but definitely noteworthy, that's true. All right, seeing no further questions here, I would move that the public portion of the meeting be closed. The board will be going into a private session. So I would ask the board to approve the following resolution. Resolve that the Board of Education move into private session for the purpose of discussing matters rendered confidential by state and federal law and personnel matters. And be it further resolved that any discussion held by the board which need not remain confidential and the results of the discussion will be made public as soon as practical. Second, Rob, thank you. Another voice vote, Dana, is that right?
Yes, correct.
This point, okay.
Aye.
Everyone, aye?
Thanks so much.
And just a reminder, so you
All
would
right.
go out of this meeting and then go into the link, follow the link that I sent earlier today.
Okay. Okay, great, thank you.
That was a goodbye,
Thank you.
not an aye. That was a goodbye. Goodbye.
That was a thank you.
Thanks, George.
Hi, George.
Thanks very much
As long as you did, but
for coming. Yeah, bye, Sean, thanks for coming too.
Everyone have a great evening.